On that day, a Hamas-led group of Palestinian militant organizations crossed the border of Israel surreptitiously and with great surprise and attacked the citizens of Israel. And I say the citizens of Israel because this was not something you would expect with tanks and airplanes and one military squaring off against another. This was a well-planned, cold, calculated attack that targeted not specifically the Israeli military, but instead as citizens. And when I say citizens, I say infants, children, men, women, regardless of age. And the level of barbarity in that attack can only be described as medieval.
I'm going to share some data that deals with the increase in anti-Semitism that we've seen in Ohio. In June 2024, the Anti-Defamation League put out an annual report of anti-Semitic incidents. There were 61 in Ohio in 2022. That number increased to 237 in 2023. The Anti-Defamation League says anti-Semitic incidents have increased 140% across the United States.
Under this bill, the demonstrations, arguments, and rhetoric of pro-Palestinian or other groups will remain emphatically protected. However, it is when these groups direct their frustrations at individual Jewish students, potentially putting their rights as self-preservation at risk, that a dangerous line is crossed. The freedom of speech and the freedom of public assembly and demonstration are ingrained in our American way of life. It is crucial for such protests to adhere to the principles of respect, empathy, and constructive dialogue between all perspectives. Unfortunately, something that seems to be diminishing in our country.
When they're compelled not to go to campus, when they're actually, in some cases, this did not happen to my knowledge in Ohio, but when it happens on campus that students are actually kept from going to class or having to hide out or in some fashion not disclose their identity as Jews, that is not the United States of America. That is not the state of Ohio. So, Mr. President, I urge passage of this bill. Thank you.
Often the phrase is coined, the rising tide of anti-Semitism. Let me suggest that we no longer use the words rising tide. Tides are natural. Tides are regular. Tides are inevitable. None of that should be true about anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is intentional, not inevitable. It is purposeful, not natural. Anti-Semitism is unacceptable and it is increasing. Anti-Semitism is premeditated. Anti-Semitism is a tool used to divide. It is cruel and it must not be tolerated. The tides cannot be stopped, but anti-Semitism can be stopped.
People of Jewish descent are not being targeted by just one ethnic group. Rather, it's a threat felt across the ethnic and political spectrum. This new wave of hatred is only getting worse, and in the United States of America especially, it needs to be stopped. With the passage of this legislation, we will be protecting all students on our college campuses in the long run. Ethnic intimidation is already against the law here in Ohio and can be added as an additional charge for violations such as aggravated menacing, criminal damaging or endangering, and criminal mischief. This legislation would expand that charge to also include aggravated rioting and rioting committed by reason of race, color, religion, or national origin of another person or group.